right off the bat, I'm just going to say that Manuel gave me one of my life mantras through this song. And when I am working with survivors, either in mentorship or coaching or eventually in counseling, I relate to this mentality. It is easier to die than it is to live. It is easier to stay silent than it is to rise up. It is easier to be on the sidelines and say it's somebody else's problem than it is to get involved and to stop human trafficking. This song is actually quite complex as it's really starting to show the momentum of what's happening in the revolution, but also is introducing the hero. We know him as the first president of the United States. They knew him as the general, but it introduces for the first time George Washington. And as we go through the commentary for Right Hand Man, it really shows that it takes more than just one person. Even if this person is a superstar and loud and impactful and influential, it takes way more than one person to make a profound difference. Whether that means starting a revolution that breeds into the United States of America, or it means stopping human trafficking within the United States and all over the world. It's going to take many individuals rising up and uniting together. The beginning of the song is really dark in the sense that it starts out with naming numbers. I'm going to also name the number. The company proclaims that 32,000 troops in New York Harbor, and it says it 3 times. 32,000 troops in New York Harbor. It's almost as if they're having to try to even imagine that many people. And it's not 32,000 people. They said 32,000 troops. That is groups of people. I actually want to look up just real quick how many people are in a troop. It's something I probably should have done before starting this episode, but even right here, it says 26 to 55 soldiers are in a troop. We are talking thousands of individuals, maybe even 100,000 individuals. If you're somebody that loves math, please put in the comments exactly how many people on the range that would be if 26 to 55 people are in one troop and there is 32,000 troops that are dead as a result of this revolution. Now, I'm going to parallel it to human trafficking. We don't know necessarily how many people have died fighting human trafficking. Maybe Polaris, as an organization that collects data on human trafficking, can pull that number eventually, but it would be very hard to conceptualize how many people. But we do know that 24.9 million individuals have been victims of human trafficking. I didn't say troops. I didn't say thousand. I said million. 24.9 million victims of human trafficking. I would imagine that number must be at least double or triple of the individuals who try to save the 24.9 million people. Hamilton comes in, and you're going to see three main people in this episode or this song, and it's going to be Hamilton, George Washington, and again, Burr. So here we have Hamilton. He's actually been summoned to come and see George Washington. He doesn't really know why he's there in the beginning, but he does know that he wants to fight for this and that he's ready to actually pick up a gun himself and go to war. He's seeing himself as a very active member in the fight. Burr actually is introduced to George Washington first, and he's offering his help, which to me really comes off a little bit like how traffickers kind of embed themselves within politics or embed themselves within communities that are fighting human trafficking to actually gain insight or knowledge or even influence in those realms as well. They don't play fair. Why would they? But here we go. The whole ensemble is starting to proclaim with Washington the reality of what's happening is they're outgunned, they're outmanned, they're outnumbered, they're outplanned. But they all agree that they need to take a stand, that there needs to be a difference here. And George Washington is starting to share with everybody he needs help. He needs somebody that is loyal and dependable and just as much invested in this as he is, that's willing to see it to the end. So he's very much saying, like, can we be real a second? Maybe even just a millisecond. Can we calm down all of the emotions for a moment? Because, look, I'm just one man. And I've been writing, and I've been trying, and I've been working around the clock. But the truth is like, this is big. Like, I need help. And if I'm going to have success, because any hope of success is fleeting, like, I'm going to need people to rise up. I'm going to need people to really come around this revolution. That's the same type of voice that survivors, especially survivors that have moved into thrivers, speak on public stages or write books like myself. If you're interested in my story, I haven't said it since the beginning episode, but Model Stop Traffic and Trafficking Aftermath is where you can find my stories. And that's available on flyingwithair.com if you want to buy it directly as like a signed copy or on Amazon. Nonetheless, back to this story, like, he's saying, like, people are scared, people are retreating, they're losing their faith. We need to come up with a solution together to really get our hands around this. And for George, it really is a matter of finding the right type of right-hand man, the right help. So he's trying to make this proclamation, and he's trying to make it as serious and as solemn as possible. George Washington, throughout the entire thing, is very much a voice of reason, as portrayed by Manuel. So Berg gets introduced. He's trying to pitch himself. He's almost immediately interrupted by Hamilton walking into the room, and they kind of look at each other. And I love this little moment of Hamilton and Burr, where Hamilton and Burr almost simultaneously say, "We keep meeting." And it's because they are the opposite sides of the same coin here. It moves on to basically say that Washington is calling up Hamilton for him to be almost like a right-hand man, not necessarily a secretary, but probably more of a protege and not necessarily an assistant. And how other people haven't been able to get Hamilton to play into that role, even though that's such a strength and strong role to have in this fight. And this is where we get that famous line that has become a mantra of mine, especially in times, not just with fighting human trafficking, but also in times where it's been hard even personally. Like, this has also been a healing journey for me. And many times people try to define me on what happened to me in one chapter of my life. versus I've been alive now for 30 plus years. And I am way more than one instance of my life where somebody else had control over me. I'm way more um, an individual than somebody else's choices for me. I've also been a I'm an author. I'm so many more things. But there has been some dark times or some challenging times where if I'm not completely in aligned with my path and with myself, I do have dark thoughts. I do revisit some of those initial emotions because this is a highly impactful thing. And while you can heal and transform, you don't forget. So when Washington says, dying is easy, young man, living is harder, it speaks volumes on what it takes to be a human trafficking thriver. These individuals are the strongest, most resourceful, relentless, and resilient people you will find on the planet. Hamilton doesn't see this yet. He's still on the fence on where his place is in this fight, in this war. But he knows one thing, and Washington does agree with him, that they're not throwing away their shot. They're not stopping. They know what needs to be done. They know that everybody has to get on board. And it ends with Hamilton realizing that he needs to give his best assets to someone that can lead him and make the difference that they all need in order to rise up. He takes his best shot.